Hi everyone, and welcome to the Tustin Police Department's Communications Center. I am the supervisor here and I oversee the operations in our 911 center. I'm going to give you a brief overview of everything that happens from your 911 call entering our center to officers being dispatched. Our dispatchers work 12.5-hour shifts. There are 2 dispatchers on minimum each shift, and they answer all your non-emergency, emergency phone calls, dispatch officers to your residence or business, and handle any running of people from the officer's requests, so any wants and warrants for each person. We are a primary answering point, which means all of your 911 calls come in here first. If we need to dispatch fire or medical services, we partner with Orange County Fire Authority to dispatch those services as well. Our officers are always out in the field, so they will assist Orange County Fire in any medical aids and usually arrive first and can start rendering first aid or life-saving measures until the fire authority arrives. We operate on a police radio system, so there's this screen over here. We're able to operate on multiple different radio channels. So we have our primary green channel, and that's all of our radio traffic. However, we are able to work with other agencies and operate on a separate radio channel through there. The Orange County area has a radio system where we can also allow our officers to talk to other agencies so everyone's aware of what's going on in Orange County. When your 911 call comes in, we start by verifying your address. If you dial 911 from your landline, the address comes across on our screen, but we'll still ask to verify that. If it's a cell phone, we usually get GPS coordinates of the phone. Sometimes it'll just be a cell tower, so it's very important that we get your address first. After we confirm your address, we can route the call for service. We assign a call type to that, and each call type has a different priority. So if you're reporting an assault with a deadly weapon or a robbery, that will have a priority 1 and we'll send officers immediately. Our dispatchers can continue to talk and ask questions of you while their partner dispatches officers. So it doesn't delay in our response at all, but gives us the necessary information that we need to provide for the officers in the field. Priority 2 calls are things such as a disturbance, some sort of noise disturbance, somebody yelling, screaming, an argument that hasn't gotten physical, and that gets a priority 2 response. We'll send officers as soon as we have someone available. Their priority 3 calls are things with maybe a burglary overnight where there's no suspect information, a cold report call, and we can either send our police officers or our police service officers to go and take that report. That's a priority 3. And then a priority 4 call is something that doesn't require an immediate response. It might be found property, a backpack left with no one around, that we will get to as soon as the officers have time available. Over here is our GPS map. All of our cars have GPS in them, so we can see where our officers are in the city, and our dispatchers select the nearest officer to respond to your call for service. Our computer-aided dispatching software is right here. It's very similar to what the officers have in their cars. We can route the call for service, take that initial information and provide a narrative, kind of a brief summary of what's going on in the call, and then send officers to the field. Our dispatchers note anything that's going on in the call so they can continue to update that information to the officers and also keep track of what's happening in a call for service. Our phone system isn't a traditional phone, it's another computer screen, and all of our neighboring agencies, any kind of phone numbers that we need are already programmed into that phone, so our dispatchers can touch one button and usually get connected with whoever they need. Our dispatchers are very busy. It can be times where things are slow and they are waiting for the next call, and there can be other moments where all 4 911 trunks and our non-emergency calls are all ringing at the same time. So our dispatchers have to be able to multitask and handle things impeccably. There isn't much margin for error here, seeing that everything is an emergency. Our dispatch training program is intense. It starts at a minimum of 6 months, where our trainees come in, they're paired with a training dispatcher, and they sit at one of these consoles and they start from the very beginning, learning how to run people for wants and warrants, take non-emergency calls for service, and eventually move up to handling 911 phone calls, and then learning the radio. The police radio is the way that our dispatchers dispatch units to a call, and also the officers can ask questions. So that's kind of the end of the training phase, because it takes a lot of control of all the information and handling multiple different things at the same time. You're now going to get to see a little bit of a sit-along and see what happens in the day-to-day life of a dispatcher. Thanks for coming along.
Mike 1, fall on the next 121. 121, it's a 245 with a knife at Walnut East Apartments, 1201 Walnut, 1201 Walnut, apartment number Delta 1, across the Del Amo, map page 51. RP is a translator for a sign language service. Advisors a video feed and a caller stating that the son stabbed his mother and is trying to now stab him. Translator advised the video feed keeps freezing. He's trying to get as much information as possible. Subject is a Mario Ortiz, date of birth of 12/24 of 2013. He's described as a male Hispanic, 14 years old, wearing a Michael Jordan's jersey and blue pants. In 121, we're going to have Orange County Fire staging. The call you just heard was one of many calls that we take here in our call center throughout the day. We typically take about 200 to 300 calls a day, 400 on very busy days. This particular call, my partner took the actual phone call from the translator, entered in a call for service for me. I was able to quickly read that information and put it out to the officers. This was a call where there was a weapon involved, so it was considered a priority 1, which is anytime that someone's life is in danger, we want to put that out immediately. So I put that out over the radio, and I made sure to use our beeper, which is used during priority 1 phone calls. This allows all the officers at the station to know that we're dealing with something that's potentially life-threatening and they need to respond as soon as possible. I also send the officers code 3, which is a term we use for sending them with lights and sirens so they can get there as soon as possible. We also use a mapping system that allows us to look at apartment complexes. That way we can map it out for the officers so they can get there as soon as possible. We can see where in the complex this particular unit was, so they can get there without delay. Something unique about this call was that he was deaf and had to go through a translator. So there was a slight delay in us getting the information, so we wanted to make sure that we were putting it out as soon as possible. It was a male with a knife. He had stabbed his mother, and during our phone call, he started trying to stab his father as well. We were able to get there, luckily within a 3-minute period. So we detained him and took everyone else to the hospital. They did not have life-threatening injuries, so we were very happy about that. And we did take the person and 5150 him because he did have mental health issues. That's something that we typically do, especially him. He was 14 years old and had a mental health issue, so we wanted to make sure that we got him the help that he needed as well.